There might be room for one more Toppin in New York City after all. If you watched the first preseason game and you watched the final minutes of that game, you saw Jacob Toppin, Obi Toppin's brother, amaze Knicks fans. We're going to take a look at exactly what he did, what he put out there in his first preseason game, and why fans are so excited. He also had an interview after the game where he spoke about the differences between himself and his brother Obi Toppin. And not only that, head coach Tom Thibodeau actually raved about him. We're going to discuss that and if he can make a final roster spot before the season starts. All of this and so much more today. Let's get started. Jacob Toppin amazes in his first minutes as a New York Knick. That's right, I said Jacob Toppin. For a lot of New York Knicks fans, this is their first time seeing Jacob Toppin play, and not only that, for everyone, this is the first time we've seen Jacob Toppin take the floor as an actual New York Knick. He didn't play in Summer League due to a minor injury that he had, but he suited up for the team during preseason, and surprisingly enough, during the Boston Celtics game, during the final minutes, we saw Tom Thibodeau put in Jacob Toppin, and honestly, a lot of us were amazed. Jacob Toppin in 10 minutes had 2 blocks, 4 points, and 2 rebounds. It doesn't sound like a lot, but if you look at what he did on the court, how he plays, his defensive tenacity, let me say that again, his defensive tenacity, the way he was blocking shots, how he was guarding players, how he was on players, that was different. That was Jacob Toppin play, not Obi Toppin play. So I can definitely say, just from what I've seen, even in this last 10 minutes of just play from him, I can say just from that he's just a little bit better of a defender than Obi Toppin is right now. And I might be being kind with saying just a little bit. It's because he always sticks to his defender. I noticed that even in the short minutes that he played. And what really amazed me is his hops. I thought that Obi Toppin jumped out of the gym. Jacob Toppin has some hops. He did 1 block to one of these Boston Celtics shooters. Knocked that ball so far away. Jumped so high. I had to double take because I thought I was watching Obi. He has hops. And honestly, I like what I saw from him. I don't think he's offensively as all the way there yet as Obi Toppin is. I think that is very, very clear at this point in time. He's not quite there yet. It doesn't mean he won't get there. And honestly, a lot of coaches will tell you in the league, they would rather a player come in as a defensive-minded player and then learn the offense. Because the offense sometimes is easier to learn and implement than the defensive implementations are. Because defensively, it's hard to teach players at that level, at that stage, how to basically buy into defense, how to commit to defense, how to go out there and be the best defender you can be. If you've always been doing that and coaches don't have to teach you on that, it's such a benefit. And honestly, I think we can say it here. Jacob Toppin seems to be defensive-minded first before any type of offense comes into his head. And I honestly like that because the New York Knicks need more players like that. And if you have a head coach in Tom Thibodeau, you need to be that player because that type of player is going to get minutes under Tom Thibodeau. And if you get rebounds, you're going to be a player that gets minutes under Tom Thibodeau. So I absolutely love what I saw from Jacob Toppin. And he also said this after the game regarding himself and his brother, Obi Toppin. According to Jacob, he stated, "Yeah, we're 2 different people. Obviously, we're going to be different players. I feel like I could bring a lot defensively. I think I could guard multiple positions. I'm just very versatile on that side. Obviously, whatever the team needs me to do, I'm going to do." Newsday continued here by stating that Jacob Toppin felt very confident in his abilities to outleap his athletic older brother. He even claimed that Obi would admit that his brother, Jacob, would jump higher. I believe it, because I saw it. You saw the block. This man has hops. His hops are either better than or equal to Obi Toppin. And he plays defense first. That is exactly the player that Tom Thibodeau needed. I'm not saying he's as good in terms of his running game as Obi Toppin is. I think absolutely. If you're looking just in terms of leak out, in terms of being more offensively together, I think Obi Toppin definitely clears that. And he could run the floor just a little bit better at this point in time than his brother. But Jacob Toppin, I think, is a better defender than Obi is right now. He's only going to get better in that regard, especially if Tom Thibodeau is his coach. And I think the offense is going to come, especially with those hops. So I'm not saying he's better than Obi Toppin. I'm definitely not saying that. I'm just saying their skill sets and what they bring, they are different to his point, but they do share some similarities. And one of the key similarities that they share is the athleticism and how high they can jump. They both can jump you out of the gym. I love that about Obi Toppin, and I feel like I'm really going to love that about Jacob Toppin. You know, Tom Thibodeau had to get in on the action. According to Newsday, Tom Thibodeau said the following about Jacob Toppin. Jacob is athletic as well. Obi is probably a little bit more gifted right now, further down the road offensively. But Jacob is a good defensive player right now. According to Newsday, Tom Thibodeau praised the younger Toppin brother for his energy throughout training camp. He called the rookie raw and suggested there's a long way to go offensively, but he also categorized him as a great worker. This is his exact quote. I like him a lot. I like his energy. Every day he comes in, great connection. So just keep doing what you're doing. He brings great energy. There's a defensive component to him. He likes contact, rebounds in traffic, that sort of thing. Runs the floor. He's got to develop consistency with his shot, and he's really worked hard at it. This is some very high praise from Tom Thibodeau. He doesn't usually praise players like this, especially rookies. To give him this type of praise, especially on the defensive end, absolutely means a lot. For me, it means everything because the Knicks still have a couple of roster spots open that they can fill to complete their roster. And him saying this about Jacob Toppin means a great deal because honestly, it could mean that we could see the younger brother of Obi, Jacob Toppin, make the New York Knicks roster. Honestly, for me, that would be something that I would like to see because given what I saw in a few short minutes of him playing, I liked it. I liked the energy. I like what he did on defense. And if Tom Thibodeau is giving him this praise, I definitely don't mind giving him one of those guaranteed spots. In my opinion, it would behoove the Knicks to actually do that. But this is a question that a lot of fans have. For the New York Knicks, is Toppin making the final roster? Or rather than that, who's actually making the final roster? We've heard names like Jaquan Jeffries. We've obviously heard Ryan Arcidiacono, and for him, the Villanova connection, he's likely going to make a roster spot, at least a guaranteed spot for the Knicks roster. So who else could potentially make the roster? Well, shout out to Newsday for basically asking Tom Thibodeau his thoughts on this matter. According to Tom Thibodeau, we have a number of guys who are fighting it out for those spots at the end, and they are all worthy. They're working extremely hard, and they've done their jobs. So we'll see how it unfolds. According to Newsday, the Knicks only have 12 out of a possible 15 guaranteed roster spots full. And Toppin is one of 6 Knicks fighting for those final 3 spots. Some of the other players fighting for those spots would be Isaiah Roby and Daquan Jeffries, who are on non-guaranteed deals. Charlie Brown Jr., like Toppin, is on an Exhibit 10. And both Ryan Arcidiacono and Dwayne Washington Jr. are on Exhibit 9 deals. So we have to remember that when we're talking about this roster and who could make the final roster in terms of guaranteed spots. For me, Ryan Arcidiacono is absolutely making the roster because of the Villanova connection. So for me, check him off. Who else? I would like it to be a power forward. I would like it to be somebody that has more two-way play, and I would like it to be somebody who plays the backup forward position naturally. So for me, I would like to see the New York Knicks convert one of their two-way players in Nathan Knight and give him a standard NBA deal and have him part of the roster. In my opinion, that's the move to make. But if we're looking at the available names that are currently with the New York Knicks and we're looking at the possible roster, for me, there are 2 names that are likely going to make this roster other than Ryan Arcidiacono. Jacob Toppin, which might make some people smile because I absolutely believe given what we saw and what Tom Thibodeau said about him, he's making that roster. He's getting a guaranteed deal. And after him, I would say the next person would be Charlie Brown Jr. I know, another guard, but he's a very, very good guard. We saw a lot of good things from him in Summer League, and I think the Knicks absolutely saw it too, and I absolutely believe that they think Charlie Brown Jr. is worth it, and he's going to make the final roster for the New York Knicks. But what about you guys? Let me know in the comments. Were you just as impressed as I was by Jacob Toppin, Obi's younger brother? And what do you feel about the final roster? Who do you think's going to make it? Let me know in the comments, because honestly, guys, I would love to hear from you. But that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please go ahead and smash that like button. Leave a comment below. But of course, guys, please subscribe to the channel. Until next time, Knicks fans. Peace.